Okay, couture crafters, let's get into this card that is meant to mimic my quilt. I'm giving away another quilt. This is a very, very special quilt because it's for my boss. I am leaving my boss and it's bittersweet. So I decided I was going to make a square card. I cut that sheet of paper at 10 by 5 and I scored it at 5. So I'm making a 5 by 5 square card. So nothing long and slender today. As long as it's not an A2, I'm cool. This is painter's tape. The size painter's tape that I really wanted is in the sewing room and I didn't feel like going to go get it. So I ended up using this painter's tape and I don't know if it's half inch. It's probably half inch painter's tape and I wanted the 1/4 inch. But it does the job just fine. And I wrapped it around my arms and I wiped it on my pants, trying to take off some of the tackiness so it doesn't rip the card. You want to take off about, I don't know, about 85% of the tackiness. And so if you rub it on your arm and on your jeans about 4 or 5 times, you should be good. So I've taped down the card to my surface. I wish at this time I had the Wendy Vecchi by Ranger Station. It's called Station, StayIon, maybe, something along those lines. And I ordered it. It's something that I saw when it came out. I think it came out in January at CHA. I was like, I need that. It's a perfect addition to this Tim Holtz mat here. And basically what it does is it allows you to put some magnets, some heavy duty magnets on a working surface so that you don't have to tape it down like this. Anyway, all that to say, I didn't have it, so I needed to tape this down to the workstation so I could play with it a little bit. No worries. I'm using my Catherine Pooler ink here and a cosmetic wedge. Why am I using a cosmetic wedge instead of the Ranger circle foams? Because those circle foams have a lot of lint on them, and these are such a smooth surface, a foam surface, that I think that cosmetic sponges would just be better here. So that's what I did. And I get a pretty decent amount of coverage with that too. I feel good about that. And I find with Catherine Pooler inks, like after you get that first layer of super duper inky goodness off, they work the best. So you want them kind of not as juicy as they come to you. So this is a great way of taking off some of that initial ink. I'm looking at the chart. I need to do another chart. I need to figure out a whole new way to look at colors. And I know that I want to adapt the Jennifer Maguire way of keeping track of ink. I just haven't done it yet. So I'm taking the cosmetic wedge and I'm just dabbing the color in between the lines. This technique is just cool in general. I want to do a ton of cards, different shapes using this. I really wanted to make this a round card, but I didn't feel like busting out the Cricut to do a circle card. So you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. The colors that I chose, I don't know what's up with me in choosing colors lately. I swear that color theory is my gift. And for whatever reason, the colors that I'm choosing just aren't as cute as I want them to be lately, but that's okay. You guys are going to see how this card compares to the quilt and the design. So I'm just moving the tape around. I'm using blues here, and so I'm not really concerned about that dark blue getting into the areas of that light blue, so I'm using the same tape. The ink dries pretty quickly on the tape, so I didn't worry about cross-contamination on the card. It all kind of worked itself out. I wasn't worried about the coverage because it kind of smooths itself out as you go along. This is a long process of me just moving tape around to kind of get whatever desired effect that I'm trying to go for. Like I said before, I'd like to do this on a few cards using different color stories, maybe color stories that are cuter. So while I am taping and removing tape and sticking stuff down, let's talk about this quilt a little bit. There is a woman, Suzyquilts, who made a quilt called the Maypole pattern. Actually, before I get into that, I'm cutting the sponge down with scissors every time I change the color. I am not being exact about it. It's not that serious. I just grabbed a pair of random scissors that's sitting on my table and cut off the color that I was using before and just rotated it to the flattest side and started again. And that's all that just happened. Anyway, nice lady, Suzyquilts. She has a pattern. She has two patterns that are just gorgeous to me. One of them's called, I think they call it the Color Pop, which is kind of a variation of this card, and the maypole quilt. Maypole quilt, super, super trendy. It's super famous. People do it. It is the coolest quilt ever. And I'm like, I'm gonna make that quilt. And the quilt came out good. The pattern is easy to follow. Where I went wrong was the color story. When I meet people, I can kind of feel your color story. I don't know why, I just do. And my boss loves the color green. So I thought, okay, I'll do an earthy kind of color story for her. I pulled this palette. I'm in my local quilt store, which I'm very happy to say is not closing. They were going to close and now they're not. And yes, I realize that this conversation is all over the place, but just go with it. So I'm there, I'm pulling my color story, and she's like, that's cute, like I like it. It looks good. I see where you're going with this. It was a beautiful color story. The issue comes where I place the color. I use a little too much brown, which is hilarious because my sister is so anti-brown, and I told her I was going to make a brown quilt, and she got all offended and whatever. But I was like, watch this. I'm going to make a quilt with brown, and it's going to be pretty. And the brown that I chose is really a rich caramel kind of brown, which is beautiful on its own. I'm not a big brown person. You know, I'm all about black and white and an ombre somewhere. However, I tried it, and the quilt, oh, it just got away from me. The color story is not something that makes me want to stare at it, but the pattern is amazing. It's an amazing pattern. I didn't love it. I just I just couldn't love the pattern. The color placement is just off for me. Did it come out good? It did. Um the colors are just in weird places, and that's all I can say about that. So I was like, I went back to the drawing board and figured, well, if I don't love the front of the quilt, maybe I can love the back. So I went to a different quilt store, not for any rhyme or reason. I just happened to have gone to another one because I hang out at all the local quilt stores around here. I try to patronize all the small businesses. And I'm talking to Julie, who is one of my favorites over there. And she's like, okay, and so we're pulling colors from her place, and I'm trying to fix it, and I come up with something. I was just searching quilt backs, and I'm like, I know what I'll do on the back. And I actually quite enjoy the back of this quilt. The back is technically another front. I love that people who are quilting for me are not scared to sew a back that's actually been a pieced back. So technically this quilt can go front or back. I like the back best, but I like the pattern on the front better. But you'll see it coming down the line. If you guys are tired of me talking about this, go on ahead and jump to I think it's around 15 minutes, and you will see the quilt front and the quilt back, or the quilt back and the quilt front. I stayed with the greens because, again, she's all about greens. That's her color. Now, with the colors that I've chosen here, I have jumped from the spa collection, which are the more subdued colors, into the party collection, which are the brights. I don't know why. I could mix them much different, but you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. What I am impressed about are the way that the X's are coming together. They're kind of neat. I like what's happening here. So now I am just taping, and I'm not concerned because I've taken that tape and I've touched my clothes and I've taken off the tackiness, and I really didn't have any problem with the tape pulling up any of the cardstock, which makes me very happy. That would really upset you if you've worked this hard on a card and then find that the tape is pulling up. Another way to do this would be to use Post-its. They work great too. So I punched this card up with that grass. I think that color is called grass skirt. And it's so pretty. Do I love it the way that I use it here? It's okay. But like I said, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. And if you can tell, I'm not, dabbing it with any rhyme or reason. I'm just laying down color. And I'm letting the color smooth out. And you can see that it kind of smooths out as you go along. And I'm taping off right here. Like, look, I'm going to tape. There's no need to tape off all of the areas. You just get a sponge that's small enough to kind of fit in that area. I needed a larger sponge, obviously, right here. So I used the full size of the wedge. I didn't cut this one down. I had no idea how long this video was going to be. I could have probably cut all this part out, but maybe you guys like watching my crazy long nails and watching me work, or maybe you'll hate this. I don't know. As I'm doing the voiceover, I'm realizing I could have cut all this out, but you get what you get, you don't throw a fit. So I'm just dabbing the same way I would apply makeup. Again, using a very dense, these are the dense cosmetic wedges. There are some that are inexpensive. These are not really expensive, but there's some that feel inexpensive, that feel very, very spongy. These feel like you're squeezing foam, if you're curious about the kind of cosmetic sponges that I'm using. I need to check out Amazon because I know that there's somebody who says that they get a ton of them off of Amazon. And I am definitely an Amazon shopper. So I'll have to check out their cosmetic sponges and see if I can get a bigger amount. I have some ones that feel this way, but they're colorful. And I prefer the white ones so that I can kind of see the color as it's going on the sponge if there's anything that I need to correct there. And here I'm just laying down the color. Now, when I look at this, it's sharp, it's cool, but there was just something kind of missing. And I figured, maybe I will add some black lines in certain areas. I didn't want to add the black lines to all of it because it just would have taken over. But something about this, it's the colors. Had I chosen colors that I liked, I probably would have left it alone. But I didn't. So I went ahead and grabbed my ruler and grabbed my Diane Reevely paint pen, which dries incredibly quickly. And I just decided that I would draw a couple of lines just to outline the pattern, just to give it a little bit more depth and dimension. I actually turned out kind of loving this card because of where I placed the sentiment. You guys know me. I'm always trying to do something that's a little different, that's a little quirky, that's a little off. I get tired of seeing the same old A2 size card. And granted, people do beautiful, beautiful work with A2 cards. It's just for me, I don't care for that. And if you're wondering what an A2 size card is, go ahead and check back on some of my earlier videos. I talk about the different card bases and sizes that I use. Again, this is a 5x5 card base that I'm using, and it's a square. I don't care for small rectangle cards. I don't know, I just don't. People swear up and down they have the worst time with these paint pens by Diane. I don't have any issues with them. I had just a tiny smudge, and that was my fault because I jerked my hand. I haven't had any issues. I haven't had issues where I have to clean off the skin. I just hold it down. Like she said, people do too much. They want to go up and down and up and down, up and down and bang the tip. That tip is kind of sensitive. Don't do that. Just when you first get it, the way to prime the pen is to push it down and hold it there and leave it alone. Don't try to bang it over and over on your paper. Just hold it down and let the paint come into the pen. And when you're ready and you feel like you need to prime it again, just hold it down. Don't bounce it up and down. So like I said, I just did a few lines. I didn't do all of the lines. I thought if I had done all the lines, it would have been a little overwhelming. I did just enough for you kind of to see the pattern. And then, see, I've got a little smudge up there, and that's my fault on that navy blue. But don't worry, because we decorate to fix our mistakes. So here is a tiny word stamp set by Simon Says Stamp. It's got tons of tiny, these greetings are small, but perfect for smaller cards. And you know, the cards that I have that are rectangular are not super large either. So this is a great set to have. I have been on the hunt for sentiments. I have tons of images. I've got flowers galore. I have geometric shapes, which I'm drawn to, but not a ton of sentiments. So I was kind of trying to build my sentiment stash up. So I just cut it, and I was like, I really like this. I like how much white is to the left of the sentiment. I don't know why. I just did, and I loved where I put this sentiment. So I went ahead and grabbed the world's best glue. That's that glitter glue. and I just popped it down. Love where the sentiment is on this. Yes, the back of my card is dirty. I can fix that, but I really didn't care. It's the back of the card. And that's from moving it all around while I was doing that blending. I didn't clean my surface as I was lifting it and flipping it around. All right, guys, here's my favorite part of this video. This is a set by Heidi Swapp that I got from Joann's Arts and Crafts. This is super inexpensive. I think I paid maybe $7. I'm sure I used a coupon on it. I think it retails for like $10 or something like that. It has a notebook, 3 inks, 1 dip pen, and a gift tag, I think, in this little box here. And I thought, well, this is cute. I just was staring at it in the store. And then once I realized that the price was so inexpensive, I figured, hey, why not? Now, as I'm opening it, I see that I don't have a clue where the gift tag is, but whatever. I'm not going to take it back. I've opened it. I've used it. Even though the gift tag's not in there, I can let that go. And it might be in there somewhere. Who knows? I also ordered this off of Amazon. That's the other Heidi Swapp dip pen, and this is just a random dip pen from Amazon too. And once I googled what Heidi Swapp was doing, I really liked the white glass pen that she'd used in her video. When I opened up the white pen, which is in the left hand side over here, I didn't love it. I looked at the shape of it, it was like, this doesn't look like the one that she used, so I was all annoyed. You'll see what I'm talking about. If you Google Heidi Swapp dip pen, you'll see like a 7-minute video that she demonstrates where she's using a white glass pen, which is the same color pen that's in this set right here. But the pen shape looks like the clear glass pen that's to my right. So when I saw it, I was like, I don't like that. That's not cute. Look at the way the nib sits on that one. I was like, that's not what I thought I was getting. But okay, fine. I figured I would try it anyway. So I have the one from Amazon that's in the purple box. That white one is a Heidi Swapp that comes with just the 2 inks. And then the glass one is the one that comes with the 3 inks and the notepad and all of that. You guys really should Google the benefits of handwriting. I don't know why I bought this. I am not a calligrapher and my writing is beyond atrocious. I look like a small child who's just learning to write. My penmanship is just poor. I realize that. My father tried to help me with it. It's just poor penmanship. But there is something about sitting down to write with a calligraphy pen. Okay, I'm not a calligrapher, so that I have calligraphy pens and I would sit down and write with that and be like, it's not pretty. It doesn't look like it did when the other people did it. But you guys, sitting down to write with ink and a dip pen with intention and quiet time, this was the best feeling ever. It makes me want to make a bunch of cards and send them out to all of you just because it feels great. You guys should really Google the benefits of handwriting. There's something about it, something about slowing down, and I just really enjoyed it. Now, this is the glass pen that came in the like super inexpensive set that you get from Joann's. This pen was super duper scratchy. And this is my first time trying a dip pen, and so I just used it with a piece of the scrap paper that was from the card that I cut. And I just don't like the feel of it, and I started to get discouraged, and I was like, I don't like the way this feels. It feels scratchy on the paper, and the tip feels like I'm gonna break it. I said, let me see what happens when I use the other pen. So this is the one from Amazon, and I realized that this is much bolder. The nib is just a little bit larger, and I enjoyed it. I was like, oh, this is cool. So I like this one much better than the other one. You can tell that the other one gives a much finer writing. And I'm not writing anything important here. I'm just talking about, this is my first time trying a pen, and this one feels scratchy and it's interesting and nothing good, nothing private or anything like that. I'm just simply testing the process. And so then I figured I might as well test the white one too. This one actually feels the best out of all of them. It kind of feels similar to the Amazon one, but randomly the one that I don't love aesthetically is the better feeling. It's a different feeling writing with this. It feels like you're kind of scratching into the paper. And I noticed that as you start to lose ink on one side with this one, just rotate the pen in your hand so that the ink is at the bottom. And you'll notice you just dip the tip of the pen in, and it's, for whatever reason, kind of starts to gravitate up the pen. It's like it just sucks it up like a funnel. Don't know how it's happening, don't know why it's happening, but I super duper enjoyed the process. So that's what I use to write the words inside of my card, which I don't show you all doing because that's personal. I'm cutting an envelope to match. I love when I can use an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper to do an envelope. On my smaller cards, the 5 by 5, and then the smaller skinny one that I do, you can use an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, which is important to me because I have a ton of these from Michaels, and I'm like, what the heck? What am I going to do with all this paper? Turns out I'm going to make envelopes. I'm using the old envelope maker. I don't know why, I am. And you see that I rounded the corners using the opposite end, which is something you don't see all the time. Now I needed something to go that matched the card on the envelope, and I just couldn't find anything. And these just happen to be sitting next to me. It's some Catherine Pooler stamps, some Simon Says stamps, some rubbernecker stuff that I got when I was in Las Vegas. No rhyme or reason. Does this match the card? No, but who doesn't like butterflies, right? People like butterflies. So I'm just making sure that the card fits, making sure that I have it the right direction. And again, I just didn't feel like going through all of my stamps to find something that matched this better. I didn't want to look for I just didn't feel like it, guys. You guys know how it is. Sometimes you just don't feel like it. This was sitting out. It was easy to get to, so I just grabbed the butterfly. Who doesn't like butterflies? And honestly, just putting the butterfly where I put it, and because this is a hand-delivered gift, I didn't have to worry about mailing it or anything like that. I grabbed my Misty just in case I messed this up, and because the back is folded. So if I needed to push down in one area multiple times, the Misty was a great way to prevent me from having any super bad accidents. So I didn't grab black ink. I tried to grab a green so that it was tone on tone, but it came out looking black anyway because the green was so dark. Whatever. And the image came out okay the first time, but I figured I would just make it more bold since it was in the Misty anyway. And the Misty lets you be able to stamp in the exact same place twice. And there you have it. And I thought, let's keep going with this. Let's make it special. This is a spaghetti noodle. If you have nails that have nail polish on them, long nails, whatever, you should have one of these around so that you can light your candles without trying to tip it, because you can catch your nails on fire. They are flammable. So I just grabbed a couple of beads of wax. I grabbed 2 dark green, 1 brown, and a random gold. I don't know why. I should have grabbed a lime green, but I didn't. I don't know. I'm just doing weird stuff with color lately, and browns. What's going on with me? So I left it there to melt for a few minutes, and once it was all melted, I slowly poured it on the back. What I like to do with my wax seals is kind of have it viscous, kind of have it thicker, which means that I let the wax cool just a little bit so that it's not running all over the place. My seal is huge. I want to say that my seal is 1.5 inches big. It's a huge seal, which is why I could do 4 beads. I have regular seals that are about 1 inch that I use 2 seals with. But this seal is huge. This is my MA Couture Crafting seal, which I like quite a bit. I had this made from, I think, AMZ Deco. And so I have blown out the fire, and the way that I clean this is I just wipe it out with a paper towel, and the wax comes right off, and then it's ready for my next use. I sit the seal on there, I wait for the seal to cool with the wax, and there you go. And there's my logo. I'm a fan. And now it's sealed. This is the quilt by Suzyquilts, her pattern. It's huge, guys. And here's the back. It's my favorite. It's a skew. The brown is super big. And that's that. If you guys hung out with me for 25 minutes, love you. Thanks. Bye-bye.